Alright, so Dig Dug. One of the most famous and popular arcade games from the 1980s. At the time, it was up there in popularity with games like Pac-Man and many other super popular games at the time. Through its pretty basic gameplay and simple level progression, it was able to become one of the most addictive arcade games in history. However, with the dying of the arcade and the introduction of the home console systems, the popularity of Dig Dug and its relevancy continued to go down over the years. Although nowadays it's still pretty well remembered by many people across the world and still has a place in video gaming culture. This all being said, how would I make a theme park ride, nonetheless a drop tower ride, based on Dig Dug? Well, this is how. Guests would approach an above-ground mining facility with oil wells surrounding it, located somewhere in a desert. There would be signs leading up to it inviting investors and tourists to come see the newly discovered species of underground creatures that the owner of this mine has supposedly found. Now, obviously, reading these signs as you're approaching the building, most guests are going to think this is just some sort of scam. This is a joke. Think like Mystery Shack from Gravity Falls. They say, oh, we got all these mystical creatures, when actually they don't, and it's just a scam to get money, like a tourist trap. Once inside the facility, alongside the mining equipment, office supplies, and paperwork, there are a few things that really stand out to the guest. One, there are tattered bat-like wings hung up on the walls like trophies. They also have an odd red tint to them. Guests will also see a giant pair of yellow goggles with a crack in the glass on one of the lenses sitting on top of a pedestal. The last thing guests would see before entering the next room is a massive lizard-like skin hanging up above the doorway. This would be kind of similar to a snake's shedded skin. I'm not sure if lizards shed skin. Tell me in the comments below, I guess. I don't really know. Anyways, after waiting in this room for a little bit, they would go to the next room, which would feature the pre-show before the ride. The room would have no windows and would be dimly lit. There would be a stage in the front of the room in which the owner of the mining facility, Jasper Pennington, pretty good name, right? comes out on to greet the guests. He informs the guests they will not be disappointed and will be blown away by what they have found. He also reminds people to check out the gift shop before they leave. This speech obviously leaves guests feeling a little more sketchy about the whole situation and the validity of it, especially considering that he makes a big deal about the gift shop. The guests then move on to the boarding station, where they're presented with an elevator shaft that does not seem to have the best structural integrity. It would fit 21 passengers at a time. Once the guests are in the vehicle, Pennington begins to talk over the loudspeaker. Now just imagine him talking in like a old western type accent. I'm not going to try that. I tried doing an impression for the last video and I ain't about to do one again. So here we go. He says, "Welcome to Pennington Mines, folks. Thanks for joining me today, and be sure to keep your hands and feet inside the elevator at all times. These creatures bite. Also, no flash photography. Seriously, no pictures." That'll come back later. The elevator then moves over to the right for a little bit until slowly dropping down to the mine. Eventually, the elevator comes to a stop at an empty tunnel. Pennington talks to us again. "Alright, let's get our friend out here to come say hi." A slab of meat is launched out from the front of the elevator into the tunnel. Suddenly, a giant dragon-like creature appears from around the bend. There she is. Now, you see, friends, we call this beauty a Fygar. Don't be afraid, though. She's harmless when she's eating. The Fygar approaches the meat and begins to start eating. All seems well, and then all of a sudden, a photo flash comes from the cart, dazing the Fygar. When she comes to, her wings begin to flash white. Pennington comes across the loudspeaker again and says, "I said no flash photography. Now look what you've done." The Fygar then begins to breathe fire onto the cart, shaking it. The Fygar then stops breathing fire to start to move closer to the cart. As she opens her mouth again to start to breathe fire again, Pennington comes on the loudspeaker again and says, "I'm sorry, darling, it's the only way." The cart then spits out a hose that gets launched directly into the Fygar's mouth, and air then begins to get pumped into the Fygar's mouth, inflating it until it eventually pops. Very similar to the video game. See what I did there? Synergy, baby. The explosion then pushes our cart back, and then from the shaking, we hear a cable snap, and the elevator drops. We pass a few tunnels before falling to the bottom of the mine, where instead of crashing into the hard rock, we hear a strange noise as our elevator bounces up and down at the bottom. Once the elevator comes to a stop, we see several red blobs with skinny legs and giant yellow goggles. They're all staring at us wide-eyed and shaking. Pennington comes over the speaker again. "Oh, thank goodness, you're alright. I can't go back to jail. I mean, I cannot live with myself knowing I injured guests." Alright, we're gonna reattach a new cable to your elevator and pull you guys up. Just hang on for a bit. Oh, and about these pansies, we call them Pookas. But don't even worry about them. They're afraid of their own reflection. While Pennington was talking, a few of the creatures approached the cart. They then pull out something from underneath the cart, dropping us down a little bit. We then quickly realized they pulled out a flattened Pooka from under the elevator, and we crushed him. The Pookas then turned to the cart, changing their expression from scared to furious. All of them simultaneously attack the cart, shaking it. Pennington then shouts, "Alright, we got you. We're getting you out of here." The elevator then begins to be lifted up in a bouncing fashion, with the elevator flying up and subsequently falling down. As we make our way up, we continue to encounter these creatures in the tunnels we pass. This obviously would be very similar with, the up and down. Yeah, that'd be very similar to like Tower Terror, kind of get that drop tower feeling, get the thrill part of the ride in. After being pulled up and falling back down repeatedly, we were eventually pulled back up to the top. Pennington comes over the loudspeaker one last time and says, "Well, that was fun, right? Go check out the gift shop, don't sue me, and never come back. See you, partners." We then exit the ride into the aforementioned gift shop with Fygar and Pooka merchandise out the wazoo. So yeah, that is my Dig Dug Drop Tower ride. It's a pretty simple, basic idea, but I think that it would fit in really well at really any theme park, to be honest. Yes, we do have enough like mine themed attractions, but to my knowledge, there really aren't any drop tower ones. I'm sure there definitely is, but theming it to Dig Dug kind of gives it a different twist, and definitely an interesting way to tell the story. So hope you liked it. Tell me what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.